Welcome to our international trade webinar titled Regional Integration and UK Strategic Investment to the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Angola. This webinar is organized by the Congolese Chamber of Commerce in Great Britain, CCCGB, in partnership with the law firm Clyde & Co. So my name is Cedric. I'm the chairman of CCCGB, and I'm going to be the moderator today. We have 6 distinguished guest speakers today with whom we're going to discuss. First, we have Lord Popat of Harrow, who is the UK trade envoy to Uganda, Rwanda, and the DRC. We have Karen Taylor, who is the CEO of Invest Africa, John Kanyoni, who is the vice president of the DRC Chamber of Mines, Henrique Kiaku, who is the vice chairman of Tosyali Iron and Steel SA Angola, Jean-Claude Tshipama, who is the deputy CEO of Equity BCDC Bank, and Nuno Frota, who is a lawyer of Counsel, Commodities at Clyde & Co. Before I hand over to our first speaker, I have a few housekeeping items to cover. Firstly, today's webinar is recorded and live on social media. It will be available on YouTube afterwards. Next, we'd love to hear from you during the discussion. So if you have any question for our speakers, please feel free to send it through the chats facility, which is on your screen. We endeavor to answer your questions at the end during the Q&A session. But if we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we will be sure to follow up afterwards. And lastly, we'd like to encourage you to share today's webinar with your social network. Now, I would like to kick off by inviting Lord Popat for a short presentation. But first of all, let me introduce Lord Popat. I'm going to read his bio. Lord Popat is a conservative peer and party whip, and was appointed as the Prime Minister's trade envoy to Uganda and Rwanda in January 2016 by Prime Minister David Cameron. In September this year, Prime Minister Boris Johnson extended Lord Popat's brief to represent the Democratic Republic of Congo. Lord Popat is also the co-chair of the Rwanda APPG and vice chair of the Commonwealth APPG. Lord Popat is one of the Prime Minister's most active trade envoys. Since his appointment, trade with Uganda and Rwanda has increased 5-fold through securing a number of flagship deals. Lord Popat is committed to the challenge of increasing trade and investment ties between the UK and Africa, and is always promoting the tremendous potential of the African subcontinent. From January 2013 to March 2015, Lord Popat served as Minister of the Crown with responsibilities for the Department of Business, Innovation and Skills, and Transport, as well as Lord-in-Waiting and a member of Her Majesty household. Lord Popat was born in Uganda and first came to the UK as a refugee in 1971. Having trained as an accountant, Lord Popat later set up his own business, specializing in business and corporate finance, and had a successful 30-year career in the private sector. He was made a peer by Prime Minister David Cameron in 2010 for his services to small businesses. His interests in the House of Lords are promoting the Commonwealth, SMEs, increasing Britain's export and trade relations with India and Africa. Lord Popat has served 5 Conservative Prime Ministers: Margaret Thatcher, John Major, David Cameron, Theresa May, and Boris Johnson. Lord Popat, welcome. Over to you.
Thank you, Cedric, for that very generous introduction. Thank you. I'll accept that introduction. Good afternoon. I'm honored, in fact, to be addressing this Invest Africa webinar hosted by the leading law firm, Clyde & Co., and of course, the Congolese Chamber of Commerce, with the aim to explore the mining of which is available to UK companies in DRC and Angola. The work you do is a key component of building bridges between our 2 great countries. My background, which was very recent, just introduced about, I've been a trade envoy to Uganda and Rwanda since 2015. I was honored when the Prime Minister Johnson extended my brief to DRC, and of course with the appointment of 12 new trade envoys to other African countries. So my appointment and 12 new trade envoys was a strong message that the UK government is serious about promoting trade with the DRC and with the continent of Africa. My role is to encourage UK companies to invest in trade with these markets. So far, we have had success in Rwanda and Uganda, increasing trade with both markets fivefold. And of course, now you have direct flights, London, Kigali, London, and from next month, we'll have direct flights, London and Entebbe, London. And Cedric, I can assure you, it won't be long before we have direct flights, London, Kinshasa, London. So this is one way to build bridges between the countries. Well, Rwanda was a great success story and a key example where we were able to mobilize support amongst British mining companies to invest in Rwanda. In 2019, I was honored to host Rwandan Mining Minister, Honorable Francis Gattar in Parliament to a roundtable meeting, which was attended by 80 mining or related companies from the UK. This meeting helped to outline Rwanda's mining opportunities available in the region, whilst also helping Minister Gattar understand the challenges that British companies faced in entering Rwandan market. The response to the meeting was extraordinary. Minister Gattar went back to update his mining code and translate it from French to English, which helped to provide huge assurance to British companies. Rwanda's mining policy framework focuses on optimization of financial benefits through transparency of taxes, royalties, and other payments that reflect the value of mineral resources for Rwanda. For example, we agreed on corporation tax rate of 30%. We also agreed on capital allowances, on investment, royalties, which was limited to 4%, and of course, favorable lease terms. And a mining code enforcement is something that we put together, which is accepted by international courts. So as a fully independent member of the World Trade Organization, we work with Rwanda to strengthen the rule-based international trading system that is free and fair and that supports Africa's economic development. Subsequently, we have 3 British mining companies who started operating in Rwanda, including Power Resources Group, Metalasis, and Istinco. This is in addition to a couple of companies who were already there in Rwanda at the time. This would not have been possible without the support of the Rwandan Development Board. Just this week, another UK company, Parker Plant based in Derby, is exploring opportunities to provide mining extraction equipment to Rwanda through the support of RDB, the Rwandan Development Board. In my role as trade envoy to DRC, I wish to replicate the success in DRC, and that hence I said a lot about Rwanda. And this is a way forward for us with DRC as well. As you know, DRC is a country of immense potential and opportunity, immensely rich in its people and resources. By background, you all know DRC is in many ways the richest country in Africa, and indeed in the world. The country has over 1,100 minerals worth 27 trillion American dollars, half of Africa's water, young and vibrant population. And as we all know, DRC produces some 60% of the world's cobalt. There are also huge reserves of tantalum, copper, diamonds, gold, and many other rare metals. These rare metals are essential for our daily life, from our electric cars, mobile phones, scanning equipment, and security. The government's recently published integrated review of the foreign and defense policy in UK outlined that Britain's reliance on China for the rare earth elements could leave us very vulnerable. I recently wrote a report on this for our trade minister, Minister Greg Hands, where I outlined that to avoid China turning off the taps to Britain's green revolution, key countries to engage has to include Rwanda and Angola. I'm glad my senior colleague and outstanding Member of Parliament, Lawrence Robertson, who also chairs the Westminster Africa Business Group, is with us today on this webinar. So this is a timely push to abridge countries to explore opportunities around domestic extraction and processing of critical rare earth elements. Due to the increase of democratic reforms, digitization, and introduction of Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement from the beginning of this year, and for us post-Brexit, Africa really is a future. The Africa Free Trade Agreement creates the largest free trade areas in the world, measured by the number of participating countries. The agreement will reduce tariffs among member countries, cover regulatory measures to ensure high standards, as well as reducing red tape and simplifying customers' procedure. The agreement incorporates 1.3 billion people, or 1.3 billion customers, in an area with a combined GDP of over 3.4 trillion US dollars. So you can see the size of this common African market for the future. With new leadership since January 2019, through the election of President Tshisekedi, there is a strong political will to engage with the UK. As for the DRC, the challenge we have is that the most attractive option is simply to sell to countries like China. However, President Tshisekedi recently announced that he will be reviewing all mining contracts with Chinese companies. Therefore, this is a better opportunity than ever before for UK to engage with DRC. There are 6 main reasons to invest in DRC in the mining sector. Firstly is DRC new government, which has political will to promote trade and investment. DRC's ambassador, who is also with us today, Mary Dejaki, and the British ambassador, Emily Boltman, are both commercially minded and great diplomats, willing and wanting to create a good bridge between our two countries, not just in soft power, but in business and investment. Of course, the third reason, greatest mineral wealth in Africa. Fourthly, unlike other countries, UK is committed to investing in job creation, upskilling and training and development of local population. UK has the cleanest green agenda in the G7, and foreign investment committed to promoting climate change initiatives. Fifthly, ever improving transparency of mining contracts, data and revenue, which will lead to greater transparency and accountability in the management of national resources. And finally, there are leading initiatives to improve human rights and health and safety conditions to ensure responsible sourcing of minerals. Despite the challenging economic and social conditions, the new government is prioritizing infrastructure development. So we welcome all these initiatives by the new cabinet in DRC. For us in UK, is now making a substantial effort to improve trade between our countries, not least with my appointment as trade envoy. Our embassy in Kinshasa is making great steps to provide support for UK businesses looking to invest in the DRC, with Ambassador Emily Moltmann at the forefront between our two great countries. I know the Congolese government are also very keen to promote relations between our countries. Indeed, our government has put a strong focus on improving links with Africa as a whole. The UK-Africa Investment Summit in London in January of last year, hosted by our Prime Minister, was a huge milestone for UK-Africa relations. And for the first time as a Member of Parliament in UK, in the Queen's speech, I heard the word Africa. So what I've just said is part of our agenda for the next 12 months. So it's something I genuinely welcome. Maybe I'm a little biased being African born, but I want to see Africa make progress, and I want to see UK and Africa develop a good relationship for a long time. I know President Tshisekedi attended the conference last year as well, and had a private meeting with the Congolese Chamber of Commerce. Billions of pounds of UK government investment into Africa was announced at the conference. Other proactive efforts in the UK include providing greater UK export finance to fund projects, which I'm working on for the DRC, greater physical footprint of our high commissioners and embassies, doing amazing diplomatic work in 23 African countries, and various departments for international trade country teams, which are point of contact for any UK firm looking to invest in an African country, headed by Her Majesty's Trade Commissioner for Africa, Emma Wade-Smith. So UK is very serious about doing business with Africa. We are also, DIT is also in the process of recruiting an African mining sector director, which is again evidence of strengthening UK government's engagement in the mining sector. However, words expressing intent are not enough. We must kickstart UK, DRC, and Angola trade with tangible projects. As a trade envoy, I recently created business plan for DRC. My main area of focus are mining, renewable energy, particularly solar, and professional services such as offered by Nuno Frota, who's having a drink now, from Clyde and Company, a very eminent lawyer and a very reputable firm of solicitors. And I'm also to visit Kinshasa as soon as possible, as well as we all know that there have been restrictions on travel due to COVID-19. The pandemic has been a nuisance, but this has not stopped us making progress. I've drafted presentation to UK mining firms and will be reaching out to them soon regarding investing in DRC, as I did in Rwanda before COVID-19. I hope to make a mining delegation to DRC this October for DRC mining week subject to COVID. Of course, it's all subject to COVID. Finally, just concluding it, I know it'll take longer than the time allocated to me, so my apologies. Going forward, it will be very productive to engage with the Chamber of Commerce in achieving our shared aims. You have an excellent network of members and great experience. I'm determined for this to be a new dawn for building bridges between our two countries. If we want a renewable future, we need to have those metals and minerals. In the wake of Brexit, we must take advantage of greater flexibility in our trade agreements. There are already concerns that the UK has fallen behind in the face to secure these critical metals, which will threaten our green industrial strategy. Given the tremendous potential DRC and Angola, our aim is to boost exports of UK goods and services to these regions through opening the DRC and Angola market to UK businesses and promoting UK companies in focus sectors such as renewable energy, agriculture, infrastructure, and of course mining. With Africa on the move, our Prime Minister Boris Johnson says, Global Britain is just not a slogan, but a conscious effort to engage with new emerging markets across Africa, such as DRC and Angola. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord Popat, for these opening remarks. Before I hand over to the other speakers, I just want to follow up with questions. You already started to touch on this. Now that the UK has left EU, what do you see as the trade priorities for the UK in respect of Africa?
Well, as I said, in fact, we left EU partly that we have amazing soft power and relationship with many parts of the world. So having left EU, we are more global. It shouldn't be a slogan, as I said. We want to be more global. We want to see more, for example, our trade with Africa was about 30% before, at the time we joined EU. Now it's less than 3%. So you can see that we are very keen to see that we are more global, engage with more emerging markets, especially with a continent like Africa. And of course, for UK with G7 presidency and hosting COP26 Glasgow, or push T, press clear a substantial growth agenda. All this has come thanks to, in many ways, because of Brexit. At least we don't get policies and instruction from the Imperial Brussels anymore. We make our own policy in UK. So we want to see that we have a strong focus in the coming years on maximizing the potential of green economy and to support economic recovery post-COVID-19.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I'll come back to you a little bit later. Just want to just now, Mr. John Kanyoni, who is the Vice President of the DRC Chamber of Mines. Just have a question for you, Mr. Kanyoni. Is the DRC mining sector attractive, just like Lord Popat say? If yes, what do you think as the Vice President of Chamber of Mine could attract more investments, including from the UK?
Thank you. I'm taking the same opportunity to thank you for the Chamber of Commerce for Britain and DRC. This is a very good opportunity also maybe to have more bonds and links between my country, DRC, and the UK. So talking about DRC, when it comes to mining, it's really quite exciting. So I'll start maybe by doing a small presentation about the potential. Why do we think that DRC is a very good destination? But bear with me if I go beyond maybe the time you gave me. So let us start by our country itself. DRC is a country which has a continent-sized country. If I do compare DRC with many other countries in Africa, I can say that we are the second largest country in Africa after Algeria. We are 80 times the size of Belgium. We are 10 times the size of Uganda, mentioned by Lord Popat. We are 6 times the size of France. We are definitely 2.5 the size of South Africa and almost the same size as Western Europe. So why do you think that we attract, and DRC is definitely the destination of investing in mining? First of all, it's because of the size of the country, as I mentioned, but we take also all our neighbors. We are the only country in Africa with 9 neighbors. And if you talk about 9 neighbors, we are talking about a size of population of 250 million. That shows you that this is also a very good market of those who will be coming and investing in our country. Secondly, Lord Popat mentioned it briefly, it's about the untapped strategic mineral and its distribution across the country. I'll be maybe coming back to that a bit later on. Sadly, we have some very good success story. Just like last week, one of the biggest mine in copper has just starting really working, which is the Kakula of Ivanhoe. This mine will be most probably in coming years the largest mining company in copper. I'll come back to that also maybe later on, with a life which can goes up to 100 years, which is really something special to DRC. I would like also to talk a bit briefly about our mining code. Most of the time, there was some criticism about our mining code. I'll be coming back to that, doing just a kind of a scenario where I'll be showing our mining code versus several others. So we talk also about demographic trends into our country, provide his huge potential in terms of workplace, which is also something which is quite special to DRC. We do believe that it's crucial that we invest in people to be in the line with the demand of skills in the mining industry. This is crucial also, not only to DRC, but to Africa and also to Angola, where maybe we can share some very good experience with them. So we think that it's important also to focus on new exploration, to discover more untapped new deposits, as what Kakula and Kamoa did. We think that it's also extremely important, Lord Popat mentioned that also, to continue improving the governance. And I can assure you that with the new leadership, we are really in the right direction of improving governance, improving also accountability, which is also a key element, improving the business climate to attract more investment. We do also that it's important to address, maybe I'll be coming back to that also, the issue of shortage of energy and infrastructure in a way of unlocking the biggest potential of DRC. So definitely, why do we think that DRC is the country when we talk about mining? So if I talk about copper, we're talking about 120 million of metric ton. If I talk about lithium, which will be the key in coming years in this way of really moving for renewable energy and also in automobiles. Lithium, we have more than 3 million, niobium more than 30 million, manganese more than 7 million, zinc more than 7, cobalt more than 4.5. iron more than 1 million, tin and coltan more than 450. So I don't want to go too much in these details, but that can show you that we are really the country which will be playing a key role also in moving from fossil energy to more environmental friendly energies. So let me talk a bit about the mining code briefly. If I compare our mining code, the current one versus the one of 2002, we can see that the royalty were in the range of 2.5%. We're talking about 3.5% today in the new mining code of 2018. If I compare to some other country as Zambia, they're in a range of 4 to 6%. To South Africa, it's a system which is quite different, which varies between like 0.5 up to 7%. And if I take Ghana itself, it's 5%. So we can say that about the royalty, we are in the line with most of the countries in Africa and even in the world. Corporate taxes, we're talking about 30% in the mining code of 2002. Today, we're in the same range of 30% up to, there's no change about that. State shareholding, because this is also crucial. Initially, we're in a range of 5%. Today, it's a must that at least the minimum must be 10%, and these can't be diluted at all. But Lord Popat also mentioned that our new government is really considering to review some of the shareholding with some other company. There's a room also of changing on this side. So we talk also about the local content. As you may imagine, it was quite difficult to get a very good impact of our mining sector on Congolese. So we thought that it was very important also to have a very good local content. And today it's a must for a new mining company coming, at least Congolese, they must be having 16%. So if you compare a bit, you'll find that in South Africa, they did the same also with the Black empowerment policies. Clause of stability clause. So we're in a range of 10 years before. Now we are in a range of 5 years. So there's a debate on what we call the super profit tax, which was not in the mining code of 2002. And today we are in a range of 50%. Why? You know, most of the time we thought that also mining company also were getting big profit on like now we are talking about cup of price, which is more than 10,000 per metric ton. And most of those who prepared a business plan, they were in the range of maybe 6, 7. So these top up, they have to share it somehow also with others. So we talk also about strategic mineral, about cobalt and coltan and germanium. We said that, okay, they'll be charging 10% because the government decided to do so because they thought that we have also to get something out of it. So finally, I would say that DRC will be finally playing a strategic role worldwide in the energy transition I've mentioned. In the latest report from Ernst & Young published in 2019, the firm presented the top 10 business risk in the mining industry for 2020 and 2021. And one of the point 4 of this report highlights the pressure on miners to reduce the impact in carbon emission and energy use. The focus will be definitely renewable energy and the electrification of the mine. And we think that will be playing a big role as DRC. This transition can happen without the contribution of Congo. This is very clear. If you look at our deposit in lithium, cobalt, copper, aluminium, nickel, and tantalite, and so on. So I will end up saying that most of the time there's a kind of negative narrative about Africa, and particularly on DRC, my country. We do think that despite the COVID-19, we'll be really recovering. And if you look at the growth in Africa in general, some countries as Ghana, you can take the example of Rwanda, you can take the example of some other country of Cote d'Ivoire, they'll be doing well. So we think that it's a must to improve governance, to improve accountability, to improve more reforms on doing business, to improve also the regional approach. And I think that is a very good opportunity. We'll be talking about how we can exchange experience with a country as Angola. And I will highlight it again. There's a willingness for the new leadership, our head of state, who's also the chair of African Union, to make sure that not only we recover and we play a key role. So for now, I'll be just talking about those points, and maybe during the discussion, I'll be more than happy to respond to potential questions. Thank you, Cedric.
Yeah, thank you much, Mr. Kanyoni. I heard you mention Ernst & Young, who is actually they are among the sponsors actually of this webinar with the World Bank. I just want to come to we are honored to have one lady in the panel, the only one, Karen Taylor. I just want you to maybe share what do you think, what is the role do organizations like Invest Africa, you are the CEO of Invest Africa, play in supporting development across the DRC and Angola markets, please?
Thank you. Thank you to Cedric and to the Congolese Chamber of Commerce, Great Britain, for this opportunity. I think it's a really interesting one, linking Angola and DRC. And from an investor point of view, I know we've got a lot of interest in both of the countries. So congratulations to you, Nuno and company, for the initiative. Thank you to Lord Popat for that introduction as well. Naturally, we sit in a very interesting position between UK companies, UK government, African companies and African government, and we tend to bridge all of those. My chairman of IA USA, Paul Hinks, is actually in the DRC meeting with President Tshisekedi today. And he has just been visiting Goma. Our sentiments and wishes are with the city and with the people of Goma. And following this visit, he will be meeting with President Lorenzo in Angola. So the timing of this webinar is very opportune. So thank you for the invitation to join you. Organizations like Invest Africa, we play, I think, a really important role. We're a crucial link or a bridge between the public sector, as I mentioned, and the private sector in terms of all encouragement and promotion of capital towards sustainable projects on the continent. And I think given the fact that we have been in existence since 1956 as an organization, it is testament to the fact that we must be doing something right, Cedric, is probably what I want to say. We have a global footprint of around 400 member companies spanning a multitude of sectors, all of the ones that you would expect that are operating in Africa. Taking into account multinationals, private equity, academia, development finance institutions, governments, and entrepreneurs. So it's a broad church. We actively encourage a responsible and profitable private sector because we believe that that would be in the best interests of Africa's development and economic development in particular. I believe we're a trusted entry point into Africa. We provide unique services and unique advice, both serving the UK companies, international companies, and African companies. And I think we've managed to do this from London traditionally, but these days we have an office in Dubai, an office in New York, and offices in Cape Town and Johannesburg, looking to expand those offices in East and West in due course. So as I said, thank you very much. In terms of Angola and the DRC, we have an extensive relationship and good, strong activity between the two countries and companies in our network. In particular, I just highlight a couple of occasions. We hosted President Tshisekedi to an investor roundtable in January 2020 as part of the Africa Investment Conference. And we hosted an investor mission to Rwanda with Baroness Northover, in fact, back in February 2019. And then we had a return visit from President Lorenzo to an Angola investment roadshow in London in November last year, which was actually virtual. So both of these, or all three of these sorts of activities, provide an opportunity for the DRC and Angola to promote their national development plans, set out their agendas to investors and to have a dialogue, an open dialogue with investors and companies in a facilitated way, which services both parties. We're also here to assist with some of those negative perceptions that were raised by John a minute ago in terms of negative PR, and to try and get rid of some of the concerns and risks associated with investing in Africa. We help with those sorts of challenges. For example, investors in Angola and the DRC in recent years would have perhaps struggled or commented on the state of governance in the countries, or perhaps currency fluctuation, currency risk and exposure to that. And we've managed to work with them and with the governments in both countries to raise those as issues and challenges. I think in particular, the stabilization of the Kwanza this year, in sort of March of this year, was as a result of change and reform clearly laid out for Angola, and the market has responded accordingly. And this is a very good example of why the ESG and the G part of the governance part of ESG is really has raised its importance with all investors now. It's no longer a luxury, it's an absolute imperative, fundamental. We've seen our companies such as MEGA, part of World Bank, or Sovereign Risk, both turning their attention to countries like the DRC and Angola as they can see this risk being mitigated. And so I think that probably touches on the main role that we play, which is a facilitation, public affairs, but mainly driving responsible capital towards the continent, and in particular, these two countries have benefited from that focus in the last few years. Thank you, Cedric. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Karen. We heard about the opportunities in the DRC. I just want now to turn to Mr. Kiaku. If he can, first of all, present himself and tell us what Angola can offer to mining investors or British companies, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Cedric. Thank you very much, organization, for this invitation so that I could join this webinar. My name is Henrique Kiaku, currently working for an iron and steel company called Tosyali Iron Steel Angola. Tosyali Iron Steel Angola was established in 2019. It is a Turkish company as a Tosyali holding. This Turkish company has got investments in Turkey, Montenegro, Algeria, now also doing in Senegal and Angola. So they produce, the focus of this Turkish, as a holding company, is to produce steel. But this is the first time that they have embraced a challenge to start from mining up to the steel. And they've got, they could negotiate a very good project, very good project. It's called Kasinga Iron Ore Project. It's located in Wheeler Province. It is one of the mines that during 1960s and 70s could export around 6 million tons of iron ore per annum. Those exports were done to different countries in Europe, Asia, and America. And it's a mine or an area that has got a railway and a dedicated port. We are speaking about a 520-kilometer railway and a dedicated port called Sacomar. So this railway, it's completely refurbished and operational at the moment that we are talking. And the port also is operational, but it's being refurbished by a fund. The work also has started this year. So what can Angola offer? Well, Angola, it is known as an oil export country, but due to some strategic decisions made by our new leadership, our new president, we could convince new investors, big mining companies that for the first time have joined Angola. Currently, in terms of mining, we do a lot of mining in terms of diamonds that we produce and export a lot. We do also granite and marble. And we also have started to produce and export gold. At the moment, very small quantities, but Angola at the moment is exporting gold. And we have different other companies doing explorations for iron ore, manganese, beryllium, rare earth, base metals, and so on. Well, whenever I've asked this kind of question, what Angola can offer, I just used to answer the very simple answer. It is clear rules of the game. So we can offer, our rules are clear. Investor knows where to go, how to go, and what to request for. And we have our mining code that gives opportunity so that investor can sit with a negotiation commission and talk in order to negotiate everything, starting from the concessions, size of the concession, benefits in terms of taxes, and so on. John spoke about royalties and corporate tax. We in Angola, in terms of mining, we have our royalty ranges from 3 to 5. And our corporate tax for only for mining companies is 25%. So these are the most in terms of taxes, what our mining code say. And our mining code now has got 11 years. And what I usually advise to investors is that they need to understand well what our mining code says. Because once you understand, you read, understand, or talk to right people that knows exactly what the mining code says, you will be in a very good position to negotiate whatever it is inside that mining code. And our government is really open. It is really quick in terms of responding to requests. And whatever it is within this mining code, when the investors ask us, so it can be given. And also, because of this new leadership, we could, for the first time, convince big company, as I said, to invest in Angola. During this period, we are speaking about Tosyali was the first, the junior company to join in Angola, and also Anglo-American. So Anglo-American, for the first time, after a lot of negotiation, they have joined the country, and with 5 concessions. So Anglo-American is already on the board. We also finalizing, in terms of the government, is finalizing negotiation with also other big companies. I speak about Rio Tinto. So they are at the moment negotiating the tax benefits. There is a commission created, and this commission is dealing directly with these big companies in order to negotiate the tax benefits. The other companies like the beers, they used to be in country, but now in terms of diamond, they are coming back, and also other corporate projects that they have shown interest to join Angola. So in terms of minerals, almost all the minerals that DRC have, we also have. The advantage of Angola is that these minerals is unexploited. We have a virgin country where what we see now is whenever a company applies for one concession, after 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, it gets another one. It requests another one. Why? Because the country is large, it is unexploited, and it still have a lot of opportunities for people, for countries, for investors to go and find whatever they need. Gold, copper, coltan, beryllium, base metals. We have all these minerals. And also with different way, because now we have information. The government has spent money to do a very long study of survey. It's called National Geology Plan, that they survey all the country, and now they have enough information in order to share to the investor. So investor can come to Angola, sit with our geological institute and actually choose what mineral he wants, which province, and how he want to start negotiation. Everything, of course, based on these clear rules on our mining code. So as a start, I will just stop by here, and then of course we can continue with other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kiaku. I just want to now to bring on the financier, the bankers, Mr. Jean-Claude Tshipama, who is the Deputy CEO of Equity BCDC. I just want to know if we'll ask him if he can share how can Equity BCDC, based in the DRC, can assist investors in the mining sector, and also is Equity BCDC present in Angola or planning to be there? And what services do you provide? Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Cedric. It's a really pleasure to be part of this discussion. I'm Jean-Claude Tshipama, the Deputy Managing Director of Equity BCDC. As you know, Equity Group Holding has bought the family shares of what we used to call BCDC, so Banque Commerciale du Congo. They bought the majority share in last year in July. So we now a combined banks, two banks that have been combined since last year. That bring a new entity at the size of a total balance sheet of 3 billion with 250 ATMs across the country. So it means that we are able to be present where the mining industry is located, especially in the east, the central, and the south of the country. So we can provide the best service on the ground. So we can also be financing the local investment to help the facility or that investment to happen in the country. We are also able to provide facilities that will help the investors to by opening licenses that can help them to actually export the minerals. Our intervention is also in the on how we enhance the capabilities of the local suppliers to the miners. So we provide the guarantees so to give the financial power to the locals so that they can benefit from what is happening actually in the mining industry, and enhance the let's say the capabilities of the locals, because we want to see the local content to happen as well. So in that ecosystem, we also assist the artisanal miners, so we can capture the informal part, help them to equip them, and make sure that they also access to the equipment that we enable them to be able to export. And we also facilitate the link between the locals and the international traders. In the mining space, so that we can enable a platform, a facility, so the exchange can happen. So with that, we secure for the investment with the platform that can help the investors to be to operate safely into the local environment. So Our role as a bank is really to provide the financial tools that will enable, whether it be a guarantee, maybe a facility in bringing the money into the country, or facility in exporting the minerals. So this is the role that we can play. Other than that, we want to position the DRC a platform, the entire Central Africa. So yes, we aim to invest into in Angola, as we did in Rwanda, we did in Tanzania, we did in Uganda, and Zambia is part of the targeted countries that where we want the country to benefit from its strategic position in the region, so we can enable trade to happen and facilitate the access to funds, even if we are outside or inside the country. So this is what Equity Bank can provide. We have also provided, we have divided the country into commercial regional offices where we can support, we can be closer to the companies, to the investors. I just came back from Kolwezi, so we opened branches in Fungurume where we can support the business where it happens. So they don't need to come all the way to Kinshasa to make sure that they get assistance from the bank and profit, take a benefit of the service, the banking service that is available. So on the technology platform, we also build host to host, so we can totally digitalize the operations, the payment with your suppliers, whether local suppliers, but also international suppliers. So that backbone has been in place now. And automatize the access to information from the bank, and then so that people can feel really in a safe and environment when they can access information, financial information right away. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tshipama, for this all this information that will be useful for investors if they want to invest in the DRC or in Central Africa. Just want to turn now to Nuno Frota, who is a lawyer at Clyde & Co, with whom we are organizing this webinar. Hi, Nuno. I just want to know how important is the African Continental Free Trade Area for FDI in the mining industry process across Africa, and in particular in the sub-Saharan African countries such as the DRC and Angola?
Thank you, Cedric, and thank you all. It's an excellent panel, and the answers to the questions that you put forward were also very interesting. It does save me time, effectively, because half of what I was going to say is already answered. But on that note, I would just start by saying who we are. Clyde & Co is a global law firm, and we have a presence in Africa. We're not outsiders. We have a very big office in East Africa, in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam, that I know well. And we have a strong presence in Sub-Saharan Africa, and namely in Johannesburg and Cape Town. On that note, I'd like to thank some of my colleagues who have been very supportive and very interested in developing these initiatives forward. Namely Alan Meyerhoff in South Africa, one of our partners, as well as Michael Swangard in London, a commodities focused partner, international trade and commodities, as well as Peter Kasanda, who heads our African strategy and is based out of Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, and Michael Strain, who is a corporate partner also based in Dar es Salaam. So those are part of a much larger team at Clyde & Co that focuses daily on African matters. I myself, as you mentioned, I'm an off-counsel of Clyde & Co. I'm based in London, And I come with over a decade of experience across Sub-Saharan Africa, with involvement in trade in DRC, and with a strong presence in Angola, in Rwanda. That said, why is the AFCFTA important? Lord Popat of Harrow referred some of the aspects, and I will not repeat them, but I will sum it up in one word: connectivity. I believe John also mentioned the importance of that aspect in a way. And for us lawyers, as things evolved and British companies look at new markets to establish themselves and to trade, I think the idea of a single African market is an excellent point. Those countries, Angola and DRC, are difficult countries. No one is fooled by how much publicity we can put forward. But it is within these challenges that we will find, with the right advice and the right regulatory framework, the solutions to be implemented in a way that is in accordance to the principles and frame that British companies follow. So I think that connectivity is the answer to your question. When you look at how foreign direct investment can be applied or can be used to develop these countries, and obviously with all the benefits that this brings for the investors, it is no longer a one country game. It is a regional integration philosophy that falls under a very important document, the Continental Free Trade Agreement. And on that basis, everything will be in the future connected, as long as we know all the countries ratify and deposit the agreement. We are at today, or at least as from the 8th of February this year, we were at 36 countries. We need 55, and then we will have a single market. This will facilitate the investments at the upstream level, but also at the midstream and logistics level. We know that the investments in mining per se are not relevant if there's no exports of the commodity. These exports needs to be done within the single market or abroad. And I'm not going to touch upon the type of commodities. Some will become more valuable because of the impact they will have on the renewable sector. It has also been mentioned. But some will still remain extremely important, not only for the developing of the countries, these specific countries, but in the long run, to be able to have a significant impact on the populations where the mines are located. So in a nutshell, and in one word, I would say foreign direct investment from now on will be related to countries' connectivity. I hope it answers the question.
Yeah, obviously. Thank you very much. That was really insightful and really precise. I just want, because of time here, just want to pass to Lord Popat, come back to you. You can just tell us, what role do you see for the UK in supporting investment in the development of the mining sector in DRC and Angola? And I also want to know what role does the DRC and Angola have in supporting supply chain resilience, and how the UK is supporting that? Lord Popat?
Sure, certainly. If I just go back to what Nuno just said, that any foreign direct investment will depend on connectivity, and hence we are working, hopefully when I go to DRC, to see if we can have direct flight, London, Kinshasa, London. So most of us can make our flight travel easier than what we have to do now, we go via Dubai. But to answer your question, DRC and Angola has metal deposits that are envy of the world. There's no doubt about that. Metals such as cobalt, nickel, and copper, they are absolutely critical to the future climate change agenda, given the importance for renewable energy, electric vehicles, and battery technology. And many mining projects, particularly in developing nations, present wider benefit for the host nation as well, because we not just create jobs and wealth, but we upskill people, training and development. So our UK investment are very conscious about climate change, developing people, skill training, and all that. What can we do? I mean, we have a range of things that we can do. The expertise, the legal and professional, what Nuno said, of course, plant and machinery, we've got sophisticated mining technology used in modern times that we can provide and support. And last week I saw a company who provides, extractors and all that for mining companies. But most important, if you look at the largest 8 mining companies in the world, 5 are quoted on London Stock Exchange. So our biggest strength, frankly speaking, is our financial services. We are the largest financial center in the world. So there's a lot we can do. There's a lot we have in common between our 2 countries. And as I said, London is the main route of capital into Africa currently. But investors, UK investors, are obviously focused on responsible investment principles. And we talked about mining code and other things, corporation tax. In fact, I'm glad Henrique, in fact, said that this is all negotiable. And that helps a lot for investment companies, UK investment companies, to do business in Angola and DRC.
Thank you. And how can investors leverage on the London Stock Exchange and, for example, AIM to have sustainable investments in both countries, the DRC and Angola?
I think it's important for both countries, for us, for UK investors, and for DRC and Angola, is to make sure that the mining code is acceptable. It can be put. It can enable, it is acceptable by the international courts as well in case of disputes. Of course, investors are looking for return on capital, so the code and the returns must be very flexible. It must be a win-win situation for a UK investor, but also for the for the Congolese and the Angola government.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to remind our public that those who just joined us, that we are still in our international trade webinar titled Regional Integration and UK Strategic Investment to the Democratic Republic of Congo and the Republic of Angola. This webinar is organized by CCCGB, which is the Congolese Chamber of Commerce in Great Britain, in partnership with the law firm Clyde & Co., supported by Invest Africa and the DIT, and sponsored by Royal Bank and Ernst & Young. Just want to turn back to Karen Taylor. Just want to know, how can the private sector mobilize investment to fund sustainable projects in the DRC and Angola?
Thank you, Cedric. I was reading this question and thinking it's slightly the other way around. I almost just want to spin that one round, if I may, and say, how can the DRC and Angola ensure that private sector invests into sustainable projects in their countries? So I'm going to slightly turn it, if you don't mind. And really picking up on Nuno's point and Lord Popat's point, not to repeat, but UK and in fact international global investors are very much looking at ESG factors, critical to their decisions on which countries they're going to invest in and which companies they're going to invest in. And so good governance is absolutely fundamental for facilitating investment. Regulatory frameworks are absolutely fundamental to the investors, and we need to make sure that that is in place to attract them in the first place so that they have that confidence. And if it's not there, it will hinder private capital flow. We need to make sure that the ease of doing business is there. Be it flights, government communications, and response through the public sector needs to be as quick as the private sector would expect it and want it, because FDI, everybody's seeking it. So as countries and destinations, we need to make sure that we're attractive to the investor. I think also the role of the DFIs is absolutely crucial in terms of giving confidence to the private sector investment and private sector capital. And that can be done in a number of ways. There are a number of blended finance instruments out there that the private sector look to. And again, I mentioned the work that we've done here in Angola in particular, but also into the DRC with the World Bank. With the African Finance Corporation, we partnered with them twice, with Angola and with the DRC Investor Roundtable, trying to put across these regulatory frameworks and criteria that's so important for bodies and institutions like themselves to be able to invest in these two countries. Again, other DFIs that can assist in terms of easing the way for and taking out an element of the risk of investing in as Nuno said, more challenging, less straightforward destinations like DRC and Angola. We worked with PEDGE in the UK and with the CDC as well in both countries. So I think we've seen real success stories when there's a collaboration between public sector, the government and the private sector and the DFIs. That triangle works extremely well. And traditional PPP structures are in place, and then the private sector gets confidence from understanding that the public sector is involved. It gets that crucial on the ground market knowledge. So that is essential for that PPP type arrangement. And some of these success stories have been in diversified sectors that perhaps were not the traditional sectors that a country was involved in, and it's presenting those opportunities to investors. So if you think about Angola, it's not just oil and gas, it's it's agricultural opportunities, it's transport, it's education, and industrial sectors that perhaps would not first come to mind. As an investor, you might not be as aware of them. And I think the same with the DRC now. I know we're talking about mining here, and it is extremely valuable to the DRC, but the DRC has potential in many other sectors as well. So it's making sure that that is communicated. And we have a number of companies that are really active in the renewable space, in power, providing that infrastructure that's required for the mining sector and others. Symbiont Power that we mentioned earlier, the Jampor Group out of Dubai, Clough Minerals, British company, Chelsea Group, B-Box Renewables, and Bank of America Securities, who've done a lot to help on the capacity building side, making the sort of regulatory governance type frameworks more achievable within the financial ministries within the countries. So I think those are just some examples of where we've seen this collaboration really driving private sector investment. It's also really good when a country aligns itself with sort of global trends and global agendas. And here I mentioned obviously the SDGs. Again, Angola just came out, or Rwanda came out with an announcement that it will deliver on its implementation plan of the 2030 SDG agenda. That gives confidence to an investor base. So again, the DRC, if emulating that, will find that will provide that confidence that the private sector is looking for. And sustainable projects, agriculture, fishing, etc., particularly will help to drive capital that's looking to make a difference. So again, thinking about the sectors and diversification from traditional sectors. I hope, Cedric, that has covered and provided an insight into the thinking of where private capital will flow and why.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Yeah, you make an interesting point that, we're talking about mining sector, but we want to diversify in all the sectors of the economy. The DRC is just not the mining sector. And on that note, I would just want to turn to Mr. Kanyoni. What do you think is missing to boost the industry, including giving added value in the DRC?
So thank you, Cedric. First of all, I would like to jump to what Karen was saying. We do believe that we should consider mining as a locomotive of subsectors. Why we do say that? When you invest in mining, a mine has a lifetime. But when you think about developing agriculture, investing in education, investing in health and so on, this is really helping more. So now back to your question, but before I respond to your question, there was also a question from Madame Cécile Sampulu. I will take just 1 minute to respond to that. She was asking what are the measurements taken by the government to improve governance? I will just go straight to the point. We have a very good initiative called EITI. EITI is based in several countries, and we got even support in the past from the UK government. I remember that the Prime Minister Tony Blair was really insisting a lot in improving governance, and especially in the mining industry. This initiative we do have, you have all the stakeholders. We have the government, we have civil society. And what are we doing exactly? We make sure that, first of all, that when you sign and you have a mining title, the government must publish the mining title they do have. And the EITI is following closely. Secondly, us as mining company, we must publish what we are paying to the government. This is also helping in a way exactly to know what are the revenue coming out of the mining industry. And the third approach is to ask also the government to publish what they received from mining company. Let us assume that my company declares so-and-so, and the government will be saying that we collected from John's company exactly this amount, though they cross-check that. And finally, the allocation of this money. We have to make sure that there is a kind of follow-up of all the process from what the mining company paid, what was collected by the government, and the allocation of this money. So this is a way of really improving the governance, except other element I've mentioned. She asked a question also about the child labor into mining. This is one of the big issues we had for the last almost 20 years. But I can say that there's some very good progress also with the OECD guidance we endorsed for the last 13 years. So we are trying our level best to make sure that there's no child labor, there's no abuse of human rights, there's no and so on. So I will advise that maybe she goes and check about that. So coming back to your question, what do we need to improve more and to make sure that our mining sector is really working at a very high level? We need to do more exploration. This is a key. And you have two good success stories. I'll start by Barrick in gold. Barrick has a mine in northern east part of DRC, which allowed them today to be among really one of the biggest mining company in the world in the gold sector. Why? Because they invested heavily in exploration. Second success story, Ivanhoe with the project Kamoa Kakula, which is a very good success story also. Now we are talking about some untapped deposit also in Kasai. We do think that it's crucial to invest more into exploration. This can be done by mining company or the government also, or can be really try its level best. Second element, it's also to see how we can improve governance. I don't want really to go back to that. Most of the speakers today mentioned that legal framework, make the business climate to be more friendly and so on. On this side also, we are working closely with the government to improve that. The third one, it's infrastructure. When I talk about infrastructure, I'm talking about road, railway, and mainly energy. We do have this kind of really challenge, being the country with the richest deposit in terms of river and so on. But we need today more than 1,000 megawatts currently for mining company. If we talk about some other project, we're in a range of 1,300 megawatts only for mining company. I'm not even mentioning the domestic consumption. So we do think that there's a very good opportunity also to invest a lot into energy in a way of allowing our mining company to work at a full regime. The last one, it's local transformation. we're talking about this shift to renewable economy and so on. We would like very big UK company to come and to invest and process from production to the final product within the country. That will be allowing us to move more faster. And that also will be allowing not only to have skills in the country. We don't want to be the country of raw material. We want to be a country where we can transform also our own product within the country. I'll stop there for now, Cedric.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Kanyoni. I understand that Lord Popat will leave us very soon because he has other commitments, but before he leaves, we just have a question from Eugene Nizeimana to Lord Popat. He say, considering UK is hosting COP26 this year, how can UK harness sustainable mining in the DRC and Angola?
Yes, in fact, it's a very good question, very important question. Considering, Prime Minister Johnson announced Green Agenda in December 2020, and we are holding the COP here this year. And of course, what we say that only supplying sustainable projects in mining, oil and gas. So we'll take this Green Agenda into account when we invest in those areas or support them financially. But the support is available to companies who harness sustainable development and encourage companies who wants to go green and countries who wants to go green.
Thank you. And maybe the last one, there was another question for you. Is the UK trade mining investment plan includes DRC private mining companies or unique to the DRC government? It's a question from Ben Chite Ntumba.
Well, basically we support both private and public companies in every respect. Of course, it includes private mining companies. What we have is UK export finance. And as long as 20% of the export content of mining equipment or technology or whatever is from UK, we will be supporting and helping, lending the stock money or giving guarantee to the bank for lending to the investor. So we have this, what we call mining investment fund, and we are working with UK Export Finance to see what support they can give. For example, Uganda has got 2.5 billion pounds available now, and Rwanda has got another 2.5 billion. We want a similar facility for DRC, which I'm working with our Chief Executive UK Export Finance. At the moment, he will look into every case by case.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lord Popat. I believe that as you have to leave early, so we really thank you for your presence, your participation, and we are looking forward to work together.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad we're all working for the good of UK and good of Rwanda, good of DRC and Angola. And my apologies in my talk, I was too fast in talking. There's so much to cover in short time. Thank you, and look forward to meeting you guys as soon as possible. Hopefully I can make a trip to DRC, as soon as COVID-19 is over. And I can assure you that many UK companies very keen to invest in DRC, not because the welcoming nature of the new government in DRC makes all the difference. And John quite rightly said about, code and all the other things are getting better. We can negotiate terms in many ways. So this is all going to help for more UK companies to invest in DRC. And I and the Prime Minister Johnson wants to see UK genuinely, wants to be global, what we were before we joined the EU. We became too continental. We saw nothing, our UK businesses saw nothing beyond European Union. Now, we're waking them up to look at the potential we have in that lovely continent of Africa. I may be biased, Nuno, but being African born, I have to be. Thank you.
Okay, CCGB ready to address. Thank you very much. Okay, I just want to turn now to Karen Taylor. The question is, how can the DRC and Angola capitalize on the rollout of the Africa Trade free trade agreement to change Africa's position on the global trade stage, please?
Cedric, I'm aware of the time as well, so I will be as quick concise as I can. I think with President Tshisekedi now being chair of the AU, he's extremely well placed, and the DRC is well placed to steer the intra-Africa continental discussions in support of you know, the rollout of the trade agreement, but also things like intra-Africa COVID vaccination programs and so on, to make sure that that everybody gets their fair shot at being vaccinated, because that's absolutely key to making sure that trade can continue freely. I think here at Invest Africa, we're really pleased. We've been working with the AFCFTA Secretariat, with the African Union, and primarily with Afreximbank to coordinate the Intra-Africa Trade Fair, which is the manifestation of the AFCFTA. That will be held later on in the end of this year in November, and will really encourage this intra-African trade momentum. And, you know, it will start slowly, because these things do, but it's going to focus in on the traditional sectors that we've talked about today in a small way, but it's really going to encourage the growth of the sectors that Africa is so well known for, like, for example, the creative sectors, something that we can do as a continent, Pan-Africa. It's also going to focus in on new areas like the automotive trade. I don't have the facts at my fingertips, but I know that the growth of the automotive sector in Africa is enormous, but it's all coming in from externally. So there is no reason why we can't manufacture and produce our own automotive trade on the continent, for example. And these are all things that in this diversified economy that we're talking about can really be taken up by the DRC and the other opportunities that John was talking about in terms of sustainable sectors. I think COVID has seen a huge impact on international flow of trade, on flow of capital, on aid, foreign aid, and FDI. So it's essential that we are strongly behind and committed as a continent to the AFCFTA project, because we need to rely on our own trade. As everybody on this call probably knows, you know, the share of intra-Africa trade back in 2017 was just around 20%, and this compares really unfavorably with you know, with Europe being at around 70% and Asia being around 60%. The continent has some way to go, and this ambitious project is absolutely vital for the development and the economic development, social development of the continent. So thank you very much for that last question, Cedric.
Okay, thank you much, Karen, for honoring us with your presence. So we look forward to continue our fruitful relationship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, my next question will be towards Mr. Kiaku. What challenges can British companies encounter if they decide to do some investment in Angola, please?
Oh, thank you, Cedric. Well, going directly to answer your question, I'll look at one of the challenges, but now it was already overcome. It is the changes that happened in the mining sector, in the governance. So in the past, we used to have two state-owned companies, one looking at the diamonds and another one looking at gold and other minerals. It means before, at that time, company and those state-owned companies, they used also to be the concessionaire. It means they used also to negotiate with the investors, the concessions. But now the government has changed the governance of mining sector by incorporating a new entity called National Agency for Mineral Resources. So this agency, it is now the body, the entity that will be negotiating directly with the investors. So one of the state-owned company that were looking at gold and other mineral was liquidated, Ferrangol, and the other one look at diamonds. Now he's like a normal mining company, okay, like a normal mining company without this role of negotiating mining agreements to investors. It means that in the past, if you are a mining company interested, for example, in diamond and gold, you should go and knock 2 doors. But today, as these new changes, you have only 1 door to knock at, and you deal everything with that entity. So this was a challenge in the past, but now it was overcame. The other challenge, because of time, it is infrastructure, where this is the problem of Africa: roads, energy. Although it depends on the project and the area, because there are some projects that I know, some concessions that they don't have problem of roads, problem of power, problem of water, and the resources are there. Okay, but there are some railway have problems, but in general, infrastructure is still a problem. Sometimes we have enough power at the production place, but at the transport up to the mine site, it's a problem. So infrastructure, definitely, it is a challenge that companies face. The other challenge is also the manpower, qualified manpower on the community where the mine will be installed or mined. Actually, as mines, minerals, they are where they are. We cannot take it from where they are and put in the city. So the communities, but one of the challenges also is the qualified people during the first years. So how people compensate that, starting with bringing expats to the company, and then those expats training locals, giving a training, so that in the future, step by step, those expats can be replaced by locals. And it's happening. It's happening. Also, the ministry has been following up all these issues, and so far things have been working really smoothly. So basically, these are the basic challenges. The other ones, like visa process, the government has done a lot of work. Some of the countries nowadays, they get authorization, online authorization, and then get the visa on arrival. So it was also overcame. And also the easiness of incorporating a company locally. So all the people, even the embassies, in order to translate and notify the documents are being really quickly. So everybody is engaged in order to create a very good business environment so that we can welcome British investors in other countries.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kiaku. Just want to pass quickly to Mr. Jean-Claude Tshipama. Mr. Tshipama, I just want to know, as you mentioned earlier, you're back from touring the Katanga province, which is considered to be a rich mining region, which supplies cobalt, copper, tin, radium, etc. What is your feedback from what you've seen on the ground?
Yeah, thank you for your questions. Maybe I can take the opportunity to answer to Ben Chite Tumba prior to the question that you asked. As a bank, equity BCDC, we can finance locally up to 40 million per project. So no matter what stage of the project, the mining project that you're in, so we are able, in syndication with the group, the equity group holding, we can finance up to 350 million per project. So it's unique. That's opportunity that we bring on the table in the market. And in Katanga, back to what Cedric has asked, we financed up to, there are several projects that we finance. I think we are now counting many projects of 150 million, 180 million, 200 million. Again, as I said, on a single project, we can do 40 million, and with the group, 350 million. So what I've seen on the ground is a huge opportunity, especially for the ecosystem that's around the mining industry. We could see people, that are providing services to the mines. There are people that provide the labor. There are people that supply goods and services to the mining industries. So the potential is there. So we could see that local are trying to tap into the ecosystems of the mining industry. So they are looking for funds. They come to us who could build on a project and help them to capture the opportunity for themselves and for the local community. We also intend to help to look ahead, because as John said, mining industry has a lifetime. So what we're trying, what they call in Katanga, the copper, the green copper. So the green copper is the agriculture that need to be developed, since we as a country, we're still depending on importing the basics on agriculture like maize, etc. So we are financing the government, making the local government, making sure that we enable them to run programs that will actually enhance the agriculture sector in the industry. We are working with cooperatives to start investing into project agriculture project, and so we see many opportunities that are popping up now, so that that diversification can start picking up, because we have the land, we have one of the largest agricultural land in the world. So yes, we need to take that opportunity. We also in a financing infrastructure mode. So like for the local government of Lualaba, we are financing the construction of the new airport, that the international airport that will allow the business to happen and allow the bridge to be in place. So these are the things that we also in a project of financing road, paid toll-free road into the regions. So we tap into every sector that surrounds the mines, because the economical development will happen not only with the mines, but the whole ecosystem that surrounds the mining industry. That's what we are doing currently. If you allowed me, I could see one question from Pichu Ndobe about crypto, the cryptocurrency. He said, do you think that it's time for Africa to turn into crypto currency as the dollar inflation is always getting worse? Could the bank support this? Pichu, thanks for the question, but as you know, the banking industry is highly regulated. We operate by the regulations in the country. BCC, so the Central Bank of DRC of Congo, has put a tough, let's say, regulation in place. Happy to, since the cryptocurrency is a sort of form of payment that's happening online and allow transactions to happen for goods and services. As for mobile payment, yes, it's an opportunity for us. But again, back to the regulation, it needs to be authorized, let's say, because we are a traditional institution, financial institution in the country, and it has an impact on the economy since we are playing a key role for the financing of the economy. So it needs to be organized by the regulation. So as long as the BCC is willing to assist, to accompany us in that shell, yes, we're willing to do so. But as an entity, as a company, if you guys are planning to have a local entity here, happy to discuss and develop and see whether what are the opportunity for us to cooperate. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Tshipama. Just want to turn to Nuno Frota. Nuno, what are the key selling points you would share with us for DRC and Angola SMEs to foster their cooperation with British companies? Yeah, that's in line with your thoughts on the capital markets, main and alternative ones.
Thank you, Cedric. I think this question is in line with the discussion about mining ventures, and I would stick to my guns on that. I did see a couple of questions that I'd like to approach maybe at a later stage in this conversation. Regarding your specific question, I would just say that when you think about raising finance, and I'm not a banker, I would let Jean-Claude talk about that in depth. But I do know and I do understand how finance and, for instance, infrastructure work, or finance and any type of trade. And it is on that basis that this question is handy. The UK, as it was mentioned by Lord Popat before he left this event, the UK is probably one of the largest, if not the largest, financial services country in the world. And it was, and it will probably still be in the future. And not only within the Commonwealth, it is a relevant financial services country everywhere. And when you look at the main market, the primary market, the London Stock Exchange, or the secondary market, as some called, or the submarket of the LSE, of the London Stock Exchange, the AIM market, you will see there are several precedents. I took a note about how many companies, since its inception in 1995, so how many companies have been assisted and have raised money with listings on the alternative market. We're talking about 3,865 companies, roughly. That represents roughly $163 billion raised on the alternative market. I'm not going to go into the LSE. This gives you a picture on how this market has been important for companies, namely SMEs, because of the differences between why one company does an IPO with the LSE or with the AIM market. It has to do with size and capital to be raised, and also track record in brief. So you will see how important it is for companies to look at the London market in particular as a means to achieve the purpose of the companies. And you can't do that without knowing exactly how the financial market in the UK works. And I think this is a point where there are key selling points in approaching British companies because they will be best positioned to assist in raising money in markets that are not only regulated, but with a known track record and experience in doing so. So, you know, I would add, and this is an expression that has been used before, that regulated markets do not work well with a casino mindset. The way companies joint venture to raise money in the public market is highly regulated, even if we look at the AIM market in a different way than the LSE. It's more flexible. It's, I would say, agile. I think the correct word is agility. But at the same time, you still need to appoint a nominee, which is also referred to commonly as nomad. And you have to have your compliance in place. So there are, the frame itself as one thing that is common to what Angola has in terms of the mining code and the procedure. It is very well known, it is established, and it works. Needless to say that in any country in the world, there are challenges. And my experience tells me that although it is possible to achieve great things in joint venture with British companies, and British companies joint venture with sub-Saharan African companies, such as the ones, the SMEs in DRC and Angola, for ventures that have a mining component, the truth is that it is possible to do that. There is experience, and in one word, I wouldn't use the plural for key selling points, but in one word, it comes down to support. British companies are extremely well positioned to provide the right support in terms of advisory access, their focus on high growth potential, the entrepreneurial mindset that is known, and this entrepreneurial mindset takes on board not only the existing structure in the UK, but also a vast procedural environment that is extremely important and respected by British companies. Finally, one of the aspects that has been mentioned by John and by Kiaku. Kiaku mentioned the manpower, the importance of manpower, and John mentioned local content. Both in the mining sector are fundamental. And I know both countries with regards to that aspect. And I can tell you that from a British company's point of view and from a market, public market point of view, there's a real focus on the commitment to employees, the commitment to people. What is the real deal there? How we effectively empower the local populations? Because by looking at these aspects, we will probably be heading in the right direction in terms of compliance, governance, local contact, and local rules fulfillment, local criteria, and at the same time respecting what are the regulations that are imposed to companies listing and raising money in this market. So I think in a nutshell and in one word, for us to remember, I did mention connectivity before with regards to the African free trade market, with regards to raising money on capital markets in the UK, it's support. So I hope it gives you at least some thought.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, thank you very much, Nuno. We are heading towards the end of webinar, but before that, I just want to bring Adrian, if we can maybe make a summary of what CCCGB does and how they can contact us. Please.
Great. Thanks, Cedric, for the webinar and for everything. And special thanks to all the members of the panelists. That's been so great, really great. Before talking about the CCCGB, I would like to say thanks to the Raw Bank who accepted to sponsor this webinar, and also EY in Kinshasa. Both EY and Robank accepted to sponsor this webinar. So thanks to all of them. So briefly about the chamber, we've been existing almost 3 years now. And one of our main objectives is to be the bridge between UK investors and DRC. As Karen Taylor, the CEO of Invest Africa, mentioned early, last year, that was in January 2020, we had a chance to at the round table and receive the chief of state, the President Tshisekedi in London. And the round table was sponsored by one of our partners, AFC, which is the African Financial Corporation, which is based in Nigeria. We say thank you to all of you. Thank you to Jean-Claude Tshipama that I have the time to see you again today. Thank to Nuno, Thanks to John, especially John Kanyoni, which is one of the CCCGB partners as well, and honorary member. And also thanks to one of our great supporters, which is the ambassador, the DRC ambassador in UK, Marinjeka, and great thanks to Mark Smith from DIT. I hope that Cedric will allow Mark Smith to say something before we finish with the webinar. So thank you very much, Cedric, for the time. That's great.
Thank you, Adrian. As you mentioned, I will ask if Mark Smith is available to make some comments about, in relation to today's webinar.
Thank you, Cedric, and thank you, Adrian, and thank you to all of the panelists and speakers today, and also to Nuno for his and his colleagues for his work in pulling this together. Delighted to have been able to participate, and pleased that obviously Lord Popat, as the trade envoy, was available to lend it from our perspective, certainly some additional weight and profile. And it was great for him to be able to join us, so thank you to him. I'll just very briefly, I found that fascinating, really interesting. And
excuse me, Mark, can you introduce yourself first? Who are you? What do you do?
Right, sorry. Thanks, Cedric. Yeah, I'm the Department for International Trade's mining sector lead. I'm based in the UK. And my role is essentially to support UK companies, UK mining companies and UK mining supply chain engage internationally through investment and through supply of services and equipment in support of mining developments, but also looking increasingly at where we can secure investment into the development of raw materials that we would class as critical raw materials to support our clean growth ambitions. And I work with colleagues across our network, high commissions and embassies globally, and obviously in this context in Africa. So that's my role, and as part of that, the potential opportunity that the DRC presents is obviously one that we've been aware of, but I think it's fair to say maybe not done as much as we could in the past. So the new government and the new approaches that we've heard about today, and the interest certainly that we've heard about today, it certainly gives us sort of great hope to develop that. And Lord Popat referenced the fact that we are in the process of recruiting a mining sector director who will be based in Johannesburg, but will have a wider remit. And when that post is filled, which hopefully will be pretty soon, we will be in a far better place to take forward some of these themes that we've been talking about today. So really looking forward to building on this relationship. I see this as the start, if you like, of this relationship and the start of increased focus and engagement between UK, DRC, Angola, and indeed wider African mining. So I'll stop there, and thank you very much for arranging this and for inviting us to participate.
It was a pleasure. And I would like also to have this opportunity, to take the opportunity to invite Her Excellency Ambassador Marinjeka, if she has some words.
Thank you, Cedric. I just wanted to congratulate you on this well-organized and very, very interesting and informative webinar. I'm particularly grateful to Lord Popat to have taken part of this webinar this afternoon. And I'm looking really forward to the implementation of everything that has been said, all our projects. I really want to see the DRC taking off, because as everyone knows, the DRC is the new destination for investment. I've been telling everyone that that's the new, not only destination, but the fertile destination, according to taking into account everything that the DRC holds. So a very, very big thank you to have organized this, and especially to have invited me to join you. Thank you so much, and looking really forward to the next step, which is, as Lord Popat said, rightly said, maybe a trip to DRC with some of the British investors, so that we can go and start plowing the ground. Thank you so much for all of you. It's been really a pleasure to join you this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. It was an honor to have you on our webinar. So for closing, I'm just ask the Vice President of the DRC Chamber of Mines, John Kanyoni, if you can share some words. Now I can see Ambassador.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know I could put my camera on. So just to greet you and say bye.
That's fine. It's great to see you. Yeah, Mr. Kanyoni, over to you, please.
So, as our ambassador was saying, definitely our country is the land of really and thousands and if not millions of opportunities into mining, and we think that really that we should really attract more and more investment from UK to our country. I was discussing with some other investors in several countries. I had the privilege and honor to be part of the delegation of our head of state in several countries. I can tell you that for the last maybe a few months, we were able to attract, I could say it with humility, some billions of investment in coming days. So you'll be maybe hearing more about that in coming days. And what is new also, I'm taking also the same opportunity to say, okay, local banks are supportive. I'm not saying that because of Mr. Tshipama is here. They are backing fully some projects also, which are really, will be having a very good impact in infrastructure in some of the provinces of our country. Finally, I would like to say also that it's important also to have a regional approach. Angola can learn with humility a lot from DRC, although they have very good expertise in oil, but we have the biggest really expertise also into mining. And I think that a regional approach about like having a mapping of all the potential of the region could be a very good approach. Secondly, we can also share our experience, technical experience into mining, because we are a country from our independence up to date, really, with a very good history of mining. Finally, I think that also there could be some very good opportunities of going into ventures between countries. It could be UK, it could be Angola, and ourselves as entrepreneurs into the DRC. So another approach also, we could have some kind of joint project where we can go also, as Nuno was saying, and have an approach of raising funds together. So there's plenty of possibility for really exchanging experience. And thanks a lot for you for inviting us. I hope that next time we'll be having more time also to talk more about DRC. But definitely we are the land of opportunities into mining. And our regulatory framework also has really improved in a way of attracting more investment. The leadership is really willing to also to make it more conducive in attracting business and to have a very good business climate. Definitely come to DRC.
Thank you. And Nuno, before I close, please.
Thank you, Cedric, and thank you all. It has been a 1 hour and 58 minutes of an excellent discussion. I would call it that, with wonderful points that were raised, and I am very happy, as I am always happy to see you, Cedric, and Adrien, with whom we've been nurturing a relationship since. I don't know, for the past 4 years. And it's always with being a francophone, although a lusophone, but a francophone living in a common law country. I tend to be very close to my fellow comrades from both the DRC as well as from Angola, who is a country that where my origins are. So in a nutshell, for me to wrap up my part of my contribution, I would insist on the 2 words that I mentioned while answering my questions. The future in sub-Saharan Africa and the future of the regional integration of trade within DRC and Angola and other neighboring countries lies in connectivity. That's the first one. And the way to achieve that is by focusing on support, the right support at the right time with the seniority that is required, but also some sophistication, because attached to the necessity to foster the connectivity and at the same time the right support, you will end up with good governance. Because from a UK perspective, what works is the process. If you have a process and you abide by the procedures, the rules, the rule of law, and it's defined and clear, as Kiaku mentioned, then you will have results. Because this is generally the only way we know things will work out in the right direction with the right results. So connectivity, right support, for me, it equals, in 2 words, a successful, or 3 words, a successful regional integration. This is my end remark.
Thank you very much, Nuno. So on that note, it's 4 o'clock. We'll be here for 2 hours. Our discussion revolved around the mining sector, particularly the importance of English companies, structural investments, and how these companies can achieve sustainable investments and medium to long-term growth in both countries, Angola and the DRC. We talked about the relevancy of developing regional synergies between those 2 major powerhouses, which is the DRC and the Republic of Angola. and of course, strengthening the ties by regional integration and the importance of cross-border investment. On behalf of the Congolese Chamber of Commerce in Great Britain, CCCGB, I would like to thank today's panel for sharing your valuable insight with us. I also would like to thank, of course, Clyde & Co., supported by Invest Africa, DIT, and also thank Equity BCDC for being present. Thank you, Robank and Ernst & Young, who are called now EY. So I'd like to remind you that a recording of today's webinar will be available on YouTube. And please join us for our next event, which will be advertised on our website, www.cccccgb.org. Please stay safe and keep well. See you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.